Kizaru has the power to make or break this Egghead escape for the Straw Hats. He is light itself, fast, bright, and brutal. He is uncaring, yet somewhat nostalgic. He doesn't simply want to leap over Sentomaru, a longtime friend of his. He wants to honor Sentomaru by killing him in battle. To me, this type of behavior makes Kizaru the most dangerous facet of all of the Egghead Island arc, and even more so than the member of the Gorosei, St. J. Garcia Saturn, overseeing every action taken by Kizaru. I feel like Kizaru is going to be somewhat of a wild card here, and I'm about to show you a couple reasons why. See, it's better to deal with the devil you know than the devil you don't. Unpredictable actions and emotionless faces make for a very scary type of villain, one rarely seen in One Piece. I believe he is the most unpredictable man in One Piece, and not because of just his chill nature, but because we don't know when he'll toy with an enemy and when he'll decide to outright kill one. For example, he seemingly always toys with his prey before someone else interrupts him. Yet, he would have killed Zoro no questions asked because it was mandated by attacking a celestial dragon. He brings justice to the world the way he sees fit, and unfortunately, it's by way of having those decisions made for him. Like he says, he is simply a cog in the machine. Unclear justice is the name of the justice he embodies, which to me and many other people just means that he doesn't know which way the wind will blow, his decision making for the moment. For the most part, he chooses to always follow an instruction or order until a higher one comes in. And if he needs to extract information, he'll do so without any hesitation. He is seen taking down the likes of a young Arlong in almost an effortless manner, and for the most part, he doesn't even really care why Arlong was attacking. He just knows that he has to stop him here and now, so he does. In Marineford, we see a bout between him and Marco, and even when Marco seemingly gets an upper hand on him, Kizaru only has a smart remark to make before instantly getting back up. He straight manhandled Whitebeard for a moment and shot him in the chest clearly without any effort again. Genuinely, I can't even remember if Kizaru suffered a brutal wound in the series yet, and so far, the most we've seen to my knowledge is a cut on the face given to him by Rayleigh. During Sabaody, when we are first introduced to him, he comes along riding on a cannonball, and after getting his hands on the supernova, he makes short work of all of them. For him, it's just another day at work, and it makes no difference to him whether ending a life or just bringing someone to justice is the motive. You know what I mean? Because basically, Kizaru will kill you or jail you, incarcerate you, however you want to say it. I feel like as long as he's given the order, he's going to enact it to the T, because that's just who he is, and we kind of don't know why, which again, just makes him unpredictable. He's now on Egghead, and Luffy mentions this while sweating, and it's kind of concerning seeing Luffy sweat. Someone powerful has arrived. You know, you feel like he would remember Kizaru's haki, but this could be an indication that Kizaru's haki has actually gotten exponentially stronger in the 2-year time skip. There is so much damage Kizaru can do in such a short amount of time. We haven't seen him in action post time skip, and to my knowledge, for the most part, we've only seen a few abilities of his. This would include the way he blinded Hawkins, his lasers, his swords, his sacred mirror, the fast travel thing he does when he kicks Apu, and his Yasakani Sacred Jewel Dragon Ball Z DBZ style attack, you know. This can't all be what he has in his arsenal, and to me, within a few seconds, he could pack up the Vegapunks and the Straw Hats if they aren't careful. Given that Kizaru is but one of the multiple issues at hand, I genuinely think a man of his unpredictability and sheer force and power will cause something terrible to happen. Should the Straw Hats push him back, there's still about 100 Marine ships and a Gorosei, not to mention an equal amount of Vice Admirals with powers we aren't even acquainted with yet. This will be the biggest test of the Straw Hats yet. Kizaru can easily jump and catch up to a Kuda burst even if they are being assisted by the Vega Force 1. I think here we have a final challenge sent to us by Oda to show us this whole Admiral power scaling discussion is nowhere near as close as we think it is. A lot of people assume it's Yonko over Admirals, but just in terms of power alone, and with that I think power alone is a grave mistake in such a discussion. The thing about Kizaru is that he doesn't just use power alone. He makes the best of any situation with light-speed decision-making skills, as well as having his unique arsenal at his disposal. And so far, we've only seen him stopped or interrupted. But here in Egghead, this is the first time we're going to see him go all out. We haven't seen him get outright beaten in a fight yet, and I think the time is coming. For the most part, we actually haven't seen any admirals get beaten straight up, and we've only heard about Aokiji getting beaten by Akainu after a week and 3 days of fighting, just to indicate how strong an admiral is. And, recently, we saw Aokiji versus Garp and whatnot, but there's a lot of more moving parts to that. Again, it's not just power alone there. We have the addition of Kobe. We have the addition of Inviso-Man. I forget his name, but, the guy in Blackbeard's crew that has the clear fruit. He just went and stabbed the shit out of Garp because Kobe's negligence, right? And all those moving facets just amount to, circumstance, whereas Aokiji also chose to use, kind of like brutal memories and things of that nature to hold Garp back even further from unleashing his amazing haki all over Hachinosu again. To bring up more points of the admirals, we got Green Bull getting stopped by Shanks. He was just simply stopped. We didn't see him get beat, right? We saw Fujitora stopped by the citizens of Dressrosa. He was stopped by his own morals. Again, we did not see him get beat by Sabo or Luffy. Just like Akainu, he was stopped by Kobe and Shanks. And again, Kizaru interrupted a few times by people like Marco, Rayleigh, all those different types of strong, legendary type people are stopping Kizaru. So it's not just like any bumpkin is going up and stopping him, I just want to go back and correct myself. The guy's name is Shiryu of the Rain. I completely forget his name, and it's mainly because I don't really care for him that much. I think he's a badass, but let's get back to the video, right? So, Kizaru vs. Luffy will be the battle that shakes the world of One Piece to its core. Will the outcome cause Jay Garcia to have to come out of the ship and act? Will Kizaru actually be defeated? And if so, at what cost? We are looking at things like the Thousand Sunny being destroyed partially, or a couple Vegapunks dying, the remaining ones. So many things can go wrong here, and all at the hands of one man. An uncaring cog in the machine who seemingly wants to keep turning so the machine can keep moving. At no point have we gotten a Celestial Dragon hate line from Kizaru, and it's gotten me thinking that maybe it's not even a question of him being on their side or believing in what they believe in. I think he chooses the path of least resistance, or at the very least, like he says, he just goes with the flow. He's just a cog in the machine. And the flow, honestly, is currently in the favor of the world government, and now Luffy seeks to be the dam that stops that flow. Should Luffy stop Kizaru, are we going to see an ideology shift within Kizaru's mind, or will he question the world government finally, or will he just get back up and keep turning like the good cog he is? These are all questions I would very much like answered, right? If he so chooses, Kizaru can create a massive amount of destruction in the blink of an eye. There has to be some sort of drawback to his power. He's too powerful. If there's no drawback like crocodiles or NLs, NL's weak to rubber, crocodile's weak to water, we don't know about the rest of the admirals. For example, Green Bull has fire break forest because of the obvious weakness of fire on forest, right? So maybe something like Blackbeard's fruit, or some sort of other type of fruit that creates darkness, or just something along the lines of not being able to let light pass through it might actually mess Kizaru up, other than, haki. For example, Kizaru just has to point and shoot a laser at just about anything in Vegapunk's lab, and I'm pretty sure it'll all explode. He is basically a walking nuke, much like the other admirals. They all have some sort of city-to-island destroying power at their disposal. Sentomaru might have the greatest defense, but we just saw him lose out to Lucci in a speed versus defense fight. So are we really expecting anything outside of failure from Sentomaru? Kizaru is coming in with a kick, and moreover, everything he is doing is mirroring his entrance and actions in Sabaody. There are just a few differences, but look at it like this. In Sabaody, the game was completely changed in One Piece, and it was mainly because of his power. We found out that the Straw Hats weren't the level of pirates they thought they were. He entered in swiftly. He used his mirror travel power to bounce up a couple buildings and kick Apu clean in the face. He used some lightning kicks again. He used his lasers, and all of that led to making extremely short work of the supernovas. He almost killed Zoro. That cannot be overstated. He had to be interrupted by a legend, Rayleigh, right? There are no legends of the past on Egghead, in my opinion, to my knowledge, so no one to stop, interrupt, or otherwise thwart Kizaru's actions here, and if anything, everything is tipped completely in his favor. I'm not worried about the light touching gloves either. I'm not hopeful for them. I don't think they'll amount to a whole lot in the end. I may eat my words here, but interrupting Kizaru won't stop the 100 Marine ships and J. Garcia Saturn. It also won't stop the Vice Admirals that are nearly equal to the number of Straw Hats on the island as well. Also, we can't overlook Lucci, who is clearly feeding info to the world government. At any moment, he can snap. He's not restrained by shit right now. That should worry everybody. Alarms should be going off. You know, Kaku was only restrained because he got the shit beat out of him by 2 Seraphim. That's neither here nor there. Sorry, I just had to let that one out. Because it's not just Kizaru, it's also Lucci now. Just kind of blowing my mind at just how much of a hole the Straw Hats are actually in without even really thinking about it. But yeah, like I said, I might eat my words here saying that the light gloves don't matter, but I don't think they will. So basically what we're looking at here is you either have to choose to deal with Kizaru first and the rest later, or take it all at once. And I don't think they're going to be able to do that. Also, I don't think they'll be successful in their escape from Egghead. If they are, I predict massive damage will be done to the Thousand Sunny. And I'm going to be so bold as to predict that if they make it off the island with the Vega Force 1 shooting them off and they Kuda burst off its hand, Kizaru can just catch up, right? Like, he can fly. We've seen him just bounce off a bunch of objects. All he has to do is bounce off the Vega Force 1 onto the ship. I don't think traveling at the speed of light is hard for a man comprised of light. You know? We gotta be worried here is all I'm saying. Right now, everything is riding on Sentomaru, and again, he is going to fail. If he wins, this is the worst L Admirals will have taken. So he has to lose, just like Law had to lose to Blackbeard, because we needed that affirmation that Blackbeard is him, that he is an emperor and he is a threat. Admirals are taking L's left and right in the series, and they kind of just have been because they're just being stopped, right? And this is the time. This is the time to show what happens when an Admiral cannot be stopped, right? The only time that got shown was off-screen on Punk Hazard with Akainu and Aokiji. But now it's time for Kizaru to pop in the island and just go ham. Just let it all hang out. Everything's riding on Sentomaru right now, and I don't like that. All right? If he can hold Kizaru off for even a minute, I'll be impressed. If things work out, that is, you know. But if not, everything will topple over onto the Straw Hats. And genuinely, I don't see them making it out of this encounter unscathed. Kizaru is dangerous, he's unpredictable, and he's uncaring. Should he deem killing the other Straw Hats over Luffy to be more important, he will do it, just like the Seraphim tried to do that as well. Imagine Nami getting shot by one of his lasers. That's a done deal. The only way I can see them surviving by Kizaru is if Luffy absolutely pulls out all the stops, beating him head on and beating him quickly, very fast. A move like this from Oda would be monumental in showing the true difference between a Yonko and an Admiral, and it could possibly be the battle of the power scalers that we've been waiting for, right? Yonkos versus Admirals. Power scalers have been waiting for this kind of shit to happen finally. An unhinged one-on-one battle. Yonko, Luffy, Admiral, Kizaru. Who will win? Who will come out on top? We don't know. But an Admiral and a Yonko are for sure about to clash soon, and within the next few chapters, we'll know the answer to the age-old question. Who is stronger? The Admirals or the Yonko? And I think no better Admiral has been chosen than none other than Kizaru. Kizaru, like I said, he's fast, he's bright, and he's brutal. And that is the perfect type of enemy to fight Gear 5 Luffy. Luffy can make his ideas come to life. Kizaru can form light constructs, which is almost borderline the same thing. Not entirely, he's not affecting the environment like Luffy is, but he can create a sword out of light, or he can shoot a laser beam, or he can teleport behind you, or he can just uppercut you so hard into the air and appear behind you and kick you back down to the earth. I mean, he is basically a Dragon Ball Z character in One Piece. And One Piece has been hitting those Dragon Ball Z levels, right? They've been using the sound effects, they've been showing off, and one facet about Dragon Ball Z is energy beams. Well, Kizaru is an energy beam human man thing, right? And that's bad. That's bad for the Straw Hats, that's bad for Vegapunk's lab. And at the risk of getting redundant and repeating myself over and over again, I've been Merch Hunter Ricky. This has been a little bit of a love letter to Kizaru and the situation on Egghead Island. I think Oda has hit some masterful strides. Every time I review a One Piece chapter or just talk about One Piece, I say it's the best chapter of the year. And 1090 was no different. Year of One Piece, where every chapter was as good as the last one, right? Anyways, have a good night, guys.